TOA community, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Robert Linkul, trainingtheolderadult.com. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing, for ringing the bell, making sure anybody and everybody who finds any of our videos interesting gets a hold of them because you shared a copy with them. Help us grow our channel. We really appreciate it. So today, I just got done with my workout. I'm all sweaty and gross. Just took a glimpse at my email right before I decided to head out of here and go get cleaned up. And I saw the 5 best exercises to target underarm jiggle. There's some things in our industry that I wish we could just make go away. And I am going to do my absolute best to not just completely poo all over this, but this is such garbage, okay? You cannot get rid of underarm jiggle via just an exercise. It doesn't work like that. Especially if you're over 50, 60, 70, like gravity's gonna start winning, man. You have to eat well, you have to sleep a lot, you have to hydrate well. All of this takes care of your skin and the elasticity of your skin, right? How many vitamins and minerals, vitamin E, vitamin B, all this other stuff that feeds and enriches your skin, and how tight it can be is based on what kind of body fat you have and what kind of musculature you have under it. So yes, you can build some muscles and that can help fill things up, that's for sure. So I guess you shouldn't say you can't train into an advantage, but it's not just like, do these 5 things, your underarm jiggle will go away. That's how it's pitched. There's no such thing as site-specific fat reduction unless you're using a vacuum and you're a surgeon, okay? That's the only way to do it. So, Elizabeth Millard, who's an ACE certified trainer and a yoga teacher. Okay, this is part of the arm that is notoriously hard to firm up. No kidding. Okay, here we go. Let's keep it together. Okay, first thing that drives me nuts. The first thing right away that I'm just like, are you kidding me? Take a look at number 3 at the bottom there. Third bullet point down. What does that say? Hand weights optional? What the hell are we talking about? What do you mean optional? How are you going to build muscle by just moving my arm up and down? You think that's going to do it? I don't understand. How did you get those initials after your name if you don't understand this? Okay? You need space to move. I agree. You need comfortable clothing. Also agree. Hand weights, those are optional. We may or may not need external load. You need a flat bench or a sturdy chair for support. And then water to sip as needed. Because these exercises we're about to do are so exhausting. I'm just being a jerk now. All right, be sure your doctor's okay with you doing these arm exercises without weights. In case you have some kind of chronic condition like osteoporosis or arthritis. Here's a little hint. Holding the weights would actually benefit both of those things. So if you have osteoporosis or arthritis, how do you tend to improve either of those conditions without an external load? You understand that moving the weight is what will help cure your osteoporosis, and that with an arthritic grace period of consistent resistance training, 2 to 12 weeks, 94% of those that participate in a resistance training program with severe to moderate arthritis reported improvements, significant improvements, okay? The other 6% didn't experience anything at all. There were no negative returns to resistance training for those with arthritis. It either felt better or it didn't change at all. Now, are we gonna cure your arthritis? No. But can you improve your quality of life? Absolutely. But what do you need for that? More than just comfortable clothes. You gotta have some weights in your hand. So right away, okay, the first bullet point would have been you have to have weights. You have to have weights, okay? Or resistant bands. Yeah, we'll go with progressive resistance. I'm good with that, okay? Accommodating resistance, bands, whatever you want to call them, okay? Any kind of resistance would be really good to try to build muscle and increase your bone density underneath. All right, so number 1, I could have guessed this one, right? Is the tricep kickback. I've never liked this lift because people basically just end up swinging their arm back and forth, okay? The best engagement you can get with this is if you use a band or a cable that's in front of you, okay? And then you're in your hinge and you're kicking back against that cable and the cable's trying to pull you forward, right? But when you hold a dumbbell, basically the dumbbell is just gonna swing the bottom half. You're gonna try to extend the last half and then you relax and it just swings back. So you're just swinging your arm. You're doing Mr. Roboto over here, right? There's not a whole lot of engagement unless you really slow it down, unless you are so mind and muscle connected. This is one of my least favorite tricep exercises of all time, unless you do it perfectly right, which most people at home without weights on a piano bench are not gonna do. Number 2, bicep curl. I agree. This is a good one. Great to build the biceps along with the triceps. I'm glad that she actually included this because I thought it was just going to be all tricep work, right? So she goes through all the steps on how to do this and to make sure you're not, kinking your wrist when you do this, etc. In the video, the girl, her elbows are drifting forward with every single curl. Remember to keep your elbows right by your ribs, okay? Lauren and Jason Pack, P-A-K, on Instagram had a really cute video I saw today where Lauren is talking about squeezing orange in her armpit, squeezing out the juice, and using that cue as a way to lock her lats down when she deadlifts. You can use that same cue when you're curling to encourage your lat retraction, your subscapularis, your serratus, all that engagement to pull down and brace your chest up, but really to keep your elbows right by your ribs, because if your elbows start to drift forward, you put the bicep on slack, it's a less significant angle of pull for the bicep. You start getting more deltoid and more pec involved. Ideally, your elbows would drift back a little bit when you curl. That's why we do shrug curls, right? Where you're actually kind of shrugging and curling all at the same time, where you're increasing the stretch of the bicep over the front of the shoulder as you drift your elbows back, okay? So keep that in mind when we're trying to target this. And then think about all that other good work it's doing around the shoulder girdle. Shoulder raises, of course, stops at 90 degrees because, who knows what catastrophic injuries will occur to the body if you go above 90 degrees, okay? Here, you're okay. Here, instant death. Okay, instant death. Why? Another one of those things in the industry, never break 90, don't go above ice. Oh, come on, man. You can raise your arms as high as you're comfortably capable. And is there a difference between that neutral grip thumbs up and the pronated grip down? Yeah, about 90 degrees. But that's really for comfort. Okay, the pronated grip, if you have some type of shoulder impingement and something hurts, more than likely that pronated grip is going to aggravate you. So turn to that thumbs up grip. It aligns the bicep tendon through the interventricular groove in the shoulder, and it gives you a little bit less potential for impingement, pinching, piercing, anything that's, uncomfortably engaged while you're doing your shoulder raising. But you are going to probably focus a little bit more with some bicep engagement, and you're going to get some more trap. When you're pronated, you're going to get a lot more deltoid. So either way, you're going to be able to get some good work in. It's just, we're seeking comfort at that point. All right, now the bent row. Now this is just a personal gripe. I don't like using the word bent with my clients other than saying don't do the bent over row position, do the hinged row position, okay? I know this is, you're picking hairs or whatever that saying is. If I bend over to row, that's what most clients think, right? Whereas if I hinged to my row, it's just a better setup and alignment because they're thinking, oh, hinge, like my Romanian deadlift or my stiff leg deadlift, right? If I hinge into that position and then I row, I'm preloading my hamstrings to hold me taut while I'm in this exposed hinge position. And then I'm going to perform my row at not a zero, angled row. I want to have a little bit of a 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock, right? That's kind of how I'm rowing on this angle. Those are on the opposite sides, right? Yeah, 5 to 11. Yeah, that's what we want. I'm thinking 30 degrees, 15 to 30 degrees off center. So you're just rowing at a little bit of an angle, okay? And she's got it here. Her knees are a little too soft. She could straighten them up a little bit and then just hinge over a little more. Remember, the more vertical you are, torso-wise, in a hinge position, the more you're exposing your back. The more your back is taking the load because you're not allowing your hamstrings to put you into the position where they can do the work. Does that make sense? If I'm in my hinge, okay, so I'm okay, here we go. I'm gonna hinge. And as I'm hinging, I'm bending my knees. All I'm doing is exposing my back more in this position, okay? Because my hamstrings are now slacked because I bent my knees, right? But if I straighten my knees, now my hamstrings are whoa, that's work, okay? They're slingshot ready, okay? And that's what I want. I want to start up tall, And my hamstrings, like a fishing line, I'm going to let out my upper body. Ooh, that's tight, okay? Now my back is just doing like a plank. My back can just engage and hold while I row in this really good hinge position. But the more I start to soften my knees, the more vertical my torso gets, the more my lower back is exposed here, okay? You're attempting to pull in a now pushing position. Because what happens when you bend your knees? You end up in a squat. Does that make sense? What's a squat? It's a push. What is a hinge? It's a pull. What is a row? It's a pull. So we need to be in pulling positions to perform pulls. If you try to stand in a push and pull at the same time, you're probably going to get hurt, okay? More than likely. I mean, with repetitions upon, it's not like the first one you do, it'll go. It could, but more than likely, long exposure like that, not great. These are positions you have all experienced, okay? The worst one, the one that I feel every time we do it, I'm helping somebody move, which I get asked to do that often because I'm a larger individual, okay? And we owned a truck, so we got asked often. You're carrying a television, which they're not terribly heavy anymore. They're just big and awkward, right? So you got the TV and it's like, okay, here I go. I'm going to hinge to put it down, but that's as deep as I can go. It's not on the floor. I can't drop it. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to squat. I'm still not there. So like the only way to get there is like you end up getting on your toes and you're like, oh God, I gotta. So I just don't have the depth to get there without getting a little vertical and getting a little toe happy. And that's when I feel my back go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Like it's just, I wait. I ask somebody to come help me. We both hold one end and we hinge and put it down proper. That's being smarter. That's the old bull, not the young bull. If you don't know that joke, look it up. I can't tell it to you. But my father-in-law told me that once and I went, that's really smart. Funny, I'll never forget that lesson now, right? But that's really smart. Okay, so hinged rows, not bent over rows. And then the dumbbell row kickback. We already did both of these. We already did the row and we already did the kickback. Why are we combining them? Which one are you selecting load off of? Because if I am going to base my weight off of how much I can row, let's say, I don't know, 80 pounds, and then I'm going to try to kick back the 25 that I can actually do. So I can't do that, right? So now I grab a 25 and it's like the row's worthless, okay? And then I'm just going to do my row kickback. I mean, I get it. You want to perform a complex, but this is the problem with complexes is you can't. Rare occasion, you can find a load that will challenge both muscle groups that are complexing together to a true challenge. So let's say it's a lunge in place, a split squat to a bicep curl, okay? A good strong male individual, age 50, could do split squats with, 16 kilos in each hand, okay? So 35 pounds in each hand. Can he curl 35s? Maybe, maybe not, okay? Probably more like 20s or 25s, that individual. So I'm undertraining my legs to try to maximize my curl, or I'm gonna pick a heavier load to get my legs and then I can't curl it. So you always have to limit yourself down to the maximum strength of the weaker complex. Does that make sense? The weaker movement. If I'm doing a squat to an overhead press, I'm not saying these aren't exhausting lifts. I'm not saying they're really hard to do. They're going to be challenging, but the point is if I'm doing a squat to a press, I'm doing that purely for the ability to exhaust myself metabolically, more than likely. If I'm grabbing dumbbells and they're 50s and I'm doing a deep squat and struggling to do the press, I've now maximized my squat and press based on my pressing ability because I can squat a hell of a lot more than 100 pounds. Does that make sense? So yes, it's hard. Yes, it's challenging. I'm not saying these aren't good lifts. I'm saying that if you're trying to get hypertrophy to your legs and hypertrophy to your shoulders, right? Which is the plan of this lift, is to try to build muscle to fill up the gap of the flabby arm, right? That's the goal of this whole thing. Well, if I'm going to use optional weights in the first place, that's not going to happen, okay? And then if I do use weights, they're probably going to be little tiny light weights that are to the limiting factor of the complex. So I would rather you just get rid of this one and just maximize your ability to do a kickback, if you can, well, and then maximize your ability to row, okay? Complexes are great for metabolic stuff, right? Split squat to a curl, step up to a high pull, squat to a press, a high pull with a snatch complex added to it, or a back squat to a heave jerk, right? All of those lifts, I'm just making them ones up now. All of those are limited by one of the lifts. Can you think of a complex where you would go, that's extremely challenging for the first muscle group and just as challenging for the second? Maybe if you are, the typical 25-year-old male that doesn't train his lower half ever and has a huge upper body, right? Maybe if you're one of those guys and I give you 40-pound dumbbells and you struggle to overhead press those, you're going to struggle to squat those as well. That's probably the only individual I can think of, right, where that's going to be the case. All kidding aside, okay? Those guys are out there. Train your legs, fellas. Train your legs on Monday. Quit bench pressing on Monday and train your legs. Number one, get it over with. Get it done in the beginning of the week. Those of you that don't like training your legs, just do it first. Do it on Monday, get it over with. You had the weekend off, you're nice and fresh. What part of your body needs the most focus? Your little twig legs, okay? So give them the best focus you can on Mondays and train them hard. And here's another thing. Train them again later in the week. You could train your legs a little bit every day because your legs are small, right? So train them and try to build some more size on there so you don't look goofy. Wearing sweatpants isn't high. We can all see it. We can all see it, okay? You go to the beach and we go, that guy's in great shape in the upper half. Yeah? Ken doll on the lower half, right? Little stick legs. I'm not teasing you. I'm just saying, being realistic here. If you love to bench on Mondays, put bench on Wednesday. Let it be a little later in the week. You're already good at that. You're already big there. Start focusing on your legs. Okay. So can you think of another complex? Can you think of one? I can squat more than I can overhead press. I can hinge more than I can high pull by double. I can split squat more than I can curl, or I can overhead press, or I can high pull. I can't think of one without just sitting here with dead air, right? I can't think of one. If you can think of one, put it in the comment section below. Now, what I mean by this too, like some of you are going to be like, when I do squat and presses with 15s, it's really hard. I know it's hard. What I'm saying is that your maximal effort? If you hold 15s, you're like, I'm going to hold them here and do squats, and you do 8, and then you're going to overhead press and you do 8. Is that equal? Is it like 8, I can't do another one, and then 8, I can't do another one? Or are you like, okay, I could do 20 more of these on the squat, but my arms are smoked? That's more than like, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm saying, if you're doing metabolic training, squat and press is awesome, right? Super hard, I get it. But for hypertrophy, compound movements don't work very well, okay? And what I mean by that is combining them to complexes, I should say. Compound movements work great. Complexes, marrying those movements together, they don't work very well. All right, I probably went 10 minutes longer on this video than I needed to, but I think we all get the point. Number one, nutrition and skin care is going to help you a hell of a lot more than any of these lifts. Weight is not optional, okay? Resistance is not optional. You need it 100%. I will fight you and argue to the death. There is no argument to be made for body weight for an individual that can't move their body weight very well. And what I mean by that is older adults can't do max rep sets of push-ups and dips and pull-ups and muscle-ups and handstand push-ups, and they can't do that stuff, okay? On average, you might have some amazing older adult who used to be a gymnast, okay? We're talking about the average individual. They can't do any of those things. So how do they get started? They work with resistance that's way lighter than their body weight. And then once they get stronger, then we can start to add more body weight in there. Everybody thinks like, well, if you can just move your body weight around. What if I'm so damn weak I can't move my body weight around? Like walking is a challenge. So how do I get into it? Well, I'm just gonna move my arms. You're just gonna roboto around and think that it's gonna change things? You gotta have load, okay? Silver sneakers, you're better than this, man. You have such a big reach to people. Put up some good content that actually teaches people some things. This is disappointing. I started in the beginning trying to give you all the best, like the best opportunities here. I get it, you put up stuff that people are gonna read, but this article could have said, number one, site-specific fat reduction isn't possible. Number two, eat really well. That's gonna help you the best. Losing your body fat will help you most here. Take care of your skin. Make sure you're getting all the nutrients your body needs. And then number three is, here's 5 exercises. You have to use weight, and let's push and pull and row and press and all the different angles to train all the way around the upper body, and we will address the arms. What would be wrong with chest press, horizontal row, vertical pull down, vertical overhead press, bicep curl, tricep extension. What's wrong with that? Those 6 lifts, that's a great upper body day. Come back the next day, train your lower half, right? Do that twice a week. You're golden. Your arms are going to look great if you do all those things we just talked about. Okay? But maybe using load and doing tricep kickbacks, it's not going to cut it. Anyhow, I hope you all enjoyed this. Hopefully I wasn't too bitter and angry about it. Maybe I should do more videos post-workout. I seem to be a little more agitated with stuff like this. Anyhow, much love and appreciation to all of you. Hope you're doing great. Comments below. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.